A judge laughed when this mother begged for help, just days before her toddler was murdered by her own stepmom. The chilling 911 call reveals everything, and the crime scene photos will haunt you forever. This is the case that exposed how the justice system failed an innocent child. You won't believe what the culprit did to cover her tracks. 2-year-old Lily Lynette Forno-Wolfenberger was not born into tragedy, but into joy. Her life began like any other child's, cradled in the warmth of a mother's arms, adored and cherished. Her smile bright enough to silence even the worst kind of day. She was born on May 14, 2008, in Lapeer County, Michigan, to Lauren Forno and Jeff Wolfenberger. But what started as a shared promise of parenthood quickly unraveled into a silent war between estranged hearts, with Lily left in the crossfire of decisions made by adults too broken to see what their fractures could cost. Jeff Wolfenberger and Lauren Forno separated before Lily even had the chance to understand what family meant, and what followed would not be the tug of two people who wanted her. It would be the slow bureaucratic erosion of her safety. Lauren Forno entered that courtroom not as a bitter ex-lover, but as a mother with a beating heart full of fear. And yet, Judge Michael Higgins seemed to hear none of it. Instead of weighing the fragile truth of a single mother's cry, he belittled her, mocked her efforts to pursue education, and told her she should have worked at McDonald's if she cared so much about her child. He scoffed at her for being obsessed with Lily, as though loving your child too deeply was a criminal act. It wasn't a trial. It was a performance, and Judge Higgins made himself the star. When Jeff Wolfenberger appeared with his new wife Renee King and her 3 children, the court draped him in the illusion of stability. A man with a house full of kids and a new marriage. On paper, it looked like a family. In reality, it was the beginning of a nightmare. Joint custody was granted, despite warnings from experts that shuttling a toddler between households could fracture her development. Lily would spend her Mondays to Thursdays with Jeff and every third weekend, another rotation in the custody calendar, in a place that would soon become her silent torment. Renee King, the new stepmother, was not a caretaker. She was not nurturing. She was not kind. She was a storm hiding behind forced smiles and small talk, a woman cracking under the weight of resentment. Lily wasn't hers, and that, in the most monstrous corners of her mind, justified what would follow. April 2010. Lily came home from her father's house with a burn on her neck, a spark from the fireplace. Jeff offered vague reassurances, but Lauren's maternal instinct refused to sleep. She took pictures. She documented everything. And as weeks bled into months, Lily returned again and again with bruises, scrapes, black eyes, stories that didn't add up, pain no toddler should understand. Lauren confronted Jeff. The explanations became more absurd. A dog scratch, clumsy falls, roughhousing with other kids. But the bruises told a different story, one that smelled like neglect, one that throbbed with the indifference of a man too absent to see what was happening under his roof. When Lily began recoiling at the thought of visiting her father's house, clinging to her mother, crying in panic, Lauren knew. Her daughter was afraid, not confused, not overwhelmed, afraid. Still, the courtroom that should have been her refuge had been poisoned against her. Her attorney warned her not to challenge the arrangement. The fear was real, that Judge Higgins, in his cruel bias, might strip her of custody entirely and give Lily wholly to Jeff. And so Lauren stayed silent. And so the bruises continued. November 2010 arrived with a scream that had no voice. Lily returned home with bruises trailing across her back, arms, sides. The worst yet, Renee King had another excuse ready, claiming the toddler had fallen again. But Lauren's resolve hardened. This time, she would not be silent. She promised herself she would take Lily to the doctor that coming Monday, collect every scrap of evidence, and return to court regardless of the outcome. She just had to get through one more weekend, one more visit. Saturday, November 20th, the date that would be carved into the soul of her motherhood like a scar that never fades. That morning, Lily ate Lucky Charms with her grandfather Frederick, known as Chico, laughed, played, and cried when told it was time to go. The drive to meet Jeff was quiet, but full of dread. At the meeting point, Lily clung to Lauren as though her tiny body could anchor itself to love alone. She begged not to go. She begged in that helpless way only toddlers can, with every fiber of her shaking. And then Jeff took her and walked away. By 3:01 p.m., while Lauren stood in the stocking aisle of Walmart buying items for Lily's Christmas gifts, the phone rang. It was Jeff. His voice was tight. He said there'd been an accident. Lily was at Macomb General Hospital. He claimed Renee had fallen on her in the shower. No further explanation, no comfort, just urgency. Lauren left her shopping cart abandoned in the aisle and bolted for the car. The roads were jammed. The traffic refused to part. She called the hospital, praying for any information. A nurse answered. Lily had no pulse. They were trying to revive her. When Lauren arrived, Jeff stood outside the hospital smoking an herb. She asked if Lily was okay. He said no. She asked if Lily was alive. He said no. Inside, the doctor confirmed what her body had already begun to accept. 2-year-old Lily Lynette Forno Wolfenberger was gone. 20 separate blows to the head. A child murdered. Not by mistake, not by fall, but by rage, by cruelty, by evil dressed in the skin of a woman named Renee King. The story of that afternoon was stitched together with blood. Renee King claimed Lily had an accident, but the autopsy screamed otherwise. The back of Lily's skull was fractured from being slammed against the floor. She had been assaulted with a foreign object. Renee had cleaned the scene before calling 911. She never tried to save her. She tried to erase the evidence, and she failed. Lauren's pain was a thunder that wouldn't die down. She walked into her house and couldn't step past the threshold. Her daughter, the heartbeat of her home, would never come back, and guilt began to bloom. The attorney who told her not to act, the judge who mocked her, the system that did nothing, and Jeff Wolfenberger, the man who watched it all from the sidelines. He never protected his daughter. He never noticed the fear in her eyes. Or maybe he did and simply chose to ignore it. The trial of Renee King began with public fury and ended in righteous silence. Chief trial attorney Toarise Tobin painted the truth in unflinching detail. Lily didn't die because of a fall. She died because of wrath, because of opiates flooding Renee's veins, because Jeff wasn't home, because Lauren's warnings were dismissed, because the system silenced her. Renee's defense team argued she loved Lily like her own, that she cried for her, that prison was too harsh. But when Renee asked to attend the funeral of the child she destroyed, the world rightly recoiled. It was not grief, it was performance. In court, Lauren stood to confront the woman who ended her daughter. Her words were dipped in truth. She told Renee she would never see Lily's first school day, first date, first wedding, but neither would Renee. She reminded her that life in prison would be a taste of what Lily suffered. She didn't beg for mercy. She demanded justice, and the jurors gave it. Renee King was sentenced to life in prison without parole for life-taking and assault of her stepdaughter. But no verdict could bring Lily back, and no verdict could undo what Judge Michael Higgins had done. When confronted with the tragedy, he released a statement saying the court had received no request for custody review since 2008, conveniently omitting that his own conduct made such a request impossible. He gaslit the public while hundreds protested outside the courthouse, demanding his resignation. They called it Higgins' Law, a system of cruelty masked as procedure. Lauren filed a formal complaint against Judge Higgins, accusing him of violating the Child Custody Act and failing to protect her daughter. And though removing a judge midterm is nearly impossible without impeachment or re-election, her voice sparked a movement. She wasn't just mourning anymore. She was fighting. She turned her grief into fire. She created the Justice for Lily website and Facebook page. She shared stories. She held fundraising events. She raised over $35,000 to support abused children. The Lily Ball, Angel Lily Christmas, donations for foster kids. Every act was a whisper from the grave turned into a scream for the living. Lauren Forno became a crusader, not just for her daughter, but for every child silenced before they could speak. She refused to let Lily be forgotten. Even in her darkest days, Lauren believed God didn't do this. Evil did, and that belief fueled her. It gave her the strength to smile for other children when hers had been taken. She never claimed to have moved on. She only chose to keep moving to honor Lily by saving others. Lily Lynette Forno Wolfenberger loved music. She danced to Glee. She adored church. Her laughter lit up rooms. And when she clung to her mother for the last time, her small hands were pleading for something she could not name: protection. But the law did not protect her. The court did not protect her. Her father did not protect her. And by the time the world realized, she was gone. She should be here. She should be in kindergarten, in high school, at prom, walking down the aisle. Instead, she is a symbol of what happens when justice favors appearances over truth, when a judge mistakes cruelty for structure, when a father mistakes silence for innocence. She is a name on a grave, but also a name in a movement. To Lily Lynette Forno Wolfenberger, your life was short, but it was not small. Your voice was taken, but it still echoes. And your story, brutal, devastating, true, will never be silenced again. What do you think allowed a child to be handed over despite all the warnings? Was it the court's failure, the father's denial, or a system too blind to see danger? Could this tragedy have been stopped if just one person had listened? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you believe Lily's story must never fade into silence, subscribe to the channel, because every child's life deserves to be protected, remembered, and told.